My internet's cutting in and out on me again today, but I'm hoping you can see and hear me. Why don't you give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me, if live is working properly. What we're going to do today is talk about from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night, how to stay warmer on the ski hill. And this is going to be for uphill and for downhill as well. But let's start with first thing in the morning. So when I get up, and I know it's going to be a cold day, it may seem counterintuitive, but the first thing that I do is I get outside early and I do some movement. And there's a whole bunch of, layering for this, but whether it's a warm up in your room or a jog to get going and get started in the morning, super important to start by getting your heart rate up, getting that blood circulating. That is going to stay with you for the rest of the day. So starting your day with that movement is going to mean you stay warmer. And of course, immediately after that movement happens, change into some dry layers, because I have made the mistake of just doing a warm up, throwing on my ski stuff and heading to the hill. It does not work as well. The next thing you're going to do before you jump in the car, after you change, after you warm up, is breakfast. And breakfast is important for reduction in your possibility of injury while you're skiing. Breakfast is important for having energy when you're out there. Breakfast can also be used to make sure you stay warmer. And the secret trick here has to do with eating a little bit more protein. Protein, when it breaks down in our system, and it's an exothermic reaction when it breaks down, meaning that you digesting that protein is actually going to release a little bit of free heat for your body. So I always have a lot of protein in the morning when I'm heading out on a cold day. And now you've warmed up, you've eaten breakfast, it's time to decide on your layers for the day. And I'd say this is the category that I have changed the most in from when I started skiing to now, for a couple of reasons. But the thing that I used to do is I used to shove on as many layers as I possibly could. We're talking like 3 shirts. We're talking a bunch of cotton t-shirts over top of our shirts. We're talking a tight jacket that I would do up. And I would just wonder why I was still cold. I'd wear the thickest socks I could. I would layer on my long johns, and yet I was still super cold. And then one day we had a very, very cold, we're talking the lifts are almost not running, minus 29 degrees Celsius at my local hill, and a friend gave me a zip up onesie to wear. And it was huge. It was built for a large man, and I was wearing it as a 5'4" female. And I was so warm, you guys. And that kind of helped me realize what I think a lot of people maybe knew sooner, which was in your insulative layers, you need airspace. Otherwise, you are not going to be warm. So now I layer totally differently. And of course, negative 30 degrees Celsius, different kind of day for layering than minus 10 and windy. But I brought some layers in that I'm going to talk about with you guys today. And the first has to do with the base. Now, I'm not into spending big money on gear. You guys know that about me. The one thing that I have found has been really great to invest in and to maintain is a wool base. The merino wool feels really good for me. So almost every day I'm out on the hill, it's my tickle trunk things, I am wearing this layer that is merino wool thin, but this is my base layer almost every single day I go out. Merino all the way, right? It's good. And if you maintain it, you can get away with not having a whole bunch of it. Treat it well. It'll last you a long time. And that layer for me, my sports bra that I wear is also merino wool. If it is really cold, I will wear my big airier wool over top of this one. We're talking the minus 30 days. And for me, I have found that because it wicks and because it stays warm when wet, if I sweat a little bit on that power run on the way down, I am not dying on the chairlift ride on the way up. The next thing that I wear that might be super specific to Southern Alberta, we are, I think, the second windiest place in Canada, is I will wear a wind shell. And so it's breathable, but it does stop the wind. And I will wear this actually underneath my ski jacket, which seems wild, but when the cold is coming from the wind going by you or from you skiing fast, having a way to keep that heat in a little bit more is going to be what keeps you warm. The next thing that I will do, and I size up my outer jacket. That's a huge takeaway for me, is I used to wear, oh, I'm a small in all these other things, I'll be a small in my winter jacket. No, I am a medium. I'm a men's medium in the jacket that I wear skiing. And that gives me room to add layers without squeezing if I need to. And it also creates that place for airspace. And that is what's going to keep me warm. Same thing goes for the bottoms. So I have an uninsulated pair of ski pants. So they're just a shell. There's always a debate. Should you get insulated or should you get just a shell? So this is just a shell ski pant, but it's very good at cutting the wind. These actually got given to me by a friend, and underneath them, I will wear one pair of long johns if it's not too cold out, and I'll wear a pair of long johns and then a pair of sweatpants. And these things are big enough that I have room for all that and airspace, and I can still move. The other big thing that I switched to when I started coaching was a overall or bib style pant. Extra layer for the core, and no possibility that you're leaking air out of your ski pants or out of your upper in the back when you're getting deep into your ski turns. So that has been huge for me. Always have airspace and invest in a couple layers that you're going to treat well. Now, when it comes to socks, I used to also do the same thing. I used to wear thick socks that would just squeeze my foot. And I had a friend tell me to use thin ones instead. I switched to a thin sock. All of a sudden, my feet were warmer. Counterintuitive, but what it is, it's just because of that airspace. The other thing, when it comes to your feet, and now we're kind of getting into what to do when you're on the hill, I will undo my boots when I get to the bottom of the run, just to have a little more space in my boot. But what I've found is I need to also tape that flap between the two sides of my shell so that air isn't getting out and so that snow isn't getting in. I'd take my liners out and they would just be encased in a tomb of snow. And that, unsurprisingly, is quite cold. So I have had huge success with that. I know some people get those boot gloves, they're called. They're neoprene and they go over top. Never tried them. If you have tried them and you like them, pop a comment in the comment box below there. But those things are huge. That's how I layer. Now, if I'm going uphill, if I'm going ski touring, backcountry skiing, I'm going to be honest with you, I find it way easier to stay warm because I have the ability to move the whole time. I find that chairlift can be mighty cold. And so this next tip is a few things that I've learned to stay warm on those chairlifts. And the first thing I'll show you here is our quad lift. So I will be on the chairlift, the bar will be down, and this helps if you have heavy gear. I will do a isometric quad extension hold. I will just sit on the lift with my tips pointed up to use these muscles, and then I will slowly lower and slowly lift back up so that I allow that blood flow to happen. But I will actively, preventatively do some leg extensions on the chairlift. The other thing that I will do is this I think comes from being a ski racing kid. You learn different patterns of playing with your hands when you're on the chairlift, and just knowing those patterns and playing with them, I think distracts the mind, but in addition, it helps move some blood around and get them to your extremities, and that's going to be important. So the two ones that I know are the clap, this one, and you can see how fast you can do it, and then the tap and switch. Never thought I would be demoing this for YouTube, but here we are. If it helps you stay warm, then it is more than worth it. When I get to the top of that lift, I will do hops, trying to lift my tails or try and lift my tips, and I'll move around. And I find that that does help me if I'm waiting for friends or I'm about to go down, because you want to feel warm when you start skiing so you can make the most of your turns. You don't want to get warm by skiing. And I mean, you will, but if you can start things off a little easier, or not a little easier, start things off warm, then you're going to feel better through the hill. And I have seen it before. If I have skiers that are really cold, they'll go into low movement skiing because they're just trying to survive. They're kind of bracing. It's kind of the shoulders to your ears, but they do it through their feet and through their whole leg, and they're skiing like a shock that's run out of hydraulic fluid. And I find that that will make you even colder because you're squeezing all of your blood vessels and you're not letting any blood go to where it's needed. So it is hard to do, but a relaxing breath out and trying to do like over move on your skis can help you stay warm, especially on those cold, cold, cold days. During the day, I remember showing a friend of mine this and she was shocked. I will bring something warm in a thermos and I'll drop it at the bottom of the lift, or if we're out touring, it'll be in my backpack, and I will sip that warm fluid throughout the day. And I don't know all the thermodynamics of what happens once that enters my system, but I do find even the thought of it warms me up. So I find that that's really, maybe even a coffee halfway through the day, I don't know. The warm drinks can make a huge difference psychologically, and then also just having something warm with you can be so lovely. So I love to do that, and it is okay to take warm-up breaks. Just when you go inside, if you go into the lodge to take those warm-up breaks, undo your jacket, take off all your layers. Those layers are insulating you against the cold when you're outside. If you go in the lodge, you need to take them off because they're going to be insulating you against the warm-up that's going to happen, and probably the dry out that's going to happen, because that can be a huge thing on snow. Is we are skiing hard, we are sweating, even though it's cold out, we are sweating. And then if we go inside and we leave all those layers on, we're going to stay, the moment we go back outside, we're going to be cold again. So take the layers off when you go in the lodge. Make sure that you're down to your base layers and you can dry out a little bit and warm up right through to you before you put everything on and go outside again. And be careful though, short lodge breaks can turn into long lodge breaks, which can make the day be over before you know it. So I always like to set a little time limit in my head first. And then when you finish the day, this one I also didn't realize until a couple years ago. I used to get really chilled at night after I went skiing, and it was because I left my base layers on. I would take off all my ski stuff, but we'd just be going to dinner, and so I'd leave on my sports bra and my base layers, change into brand new kit. I promise you, so much better. You are going to feel A, like a whole new person for some reason and not as tired, but B, you are going to get that sweaty stuff off and make it so that you're actually able to warm up. And at that changing can accompany, if you know me, you know what I'm going to say, some post-skiing mobility. If we're cold when we're skiing, we're going to be, we're less likely to move in general. That's the kind of the thing we go into when we're cold as humans. So that mobility should hit your feet, your ankles, it should hit your hip flexors. We should have some gentle counter rotation to the rotation that we've done on the hill through the day. And generally, we should help some blood flow happen. I love to go for a cross-country ski after a day downhill. And that can be post-dinner, it can be pre-dinner, but you gotta move again. If your last movement of the day was the last run of the day, you are going to be cold at night. I can promise you that. When you're having that dinner, same thing goes as breakfast. Use that exothermic reaction to your benefit. Have protein, have fat, have carbohydrates. You'll feel it warm you up, and it's going to replace all those nutrients from the day before, everything that you used, so that you can be warm through the night and then skiing the next day as well, and rehydrate at the same time. Dehydration equals harder for your heart to get the blood to everywhere in your system. If the first thing that happens when we get dehydrated is our blood volume goes down. So if we can keep that blood volume up, we are going to be warmer on the hill. And that can be like that hot drink in the middle of the day can help with that. I know some people, it's very hard for them to drink when it's cold out. So maybe that means post skiing, you are rehydrating as well. Those were my 15 tips. If you know any that I missed for staying warm, then I would love for you to pop them in the chat below. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wilder one, and we will talk to you guys soon.